Hey, Jason from National Camera Exchange. In this tutorial, we're going to look at sharpening in the Detail tab of um, the Develop module. So we've got an image, and we want to kind of highlight some of the detail that's there in this image. And most cameras kind of have a little bit of a blurring effect, but almost every image could use a little bit of input sharpening, and that's what we're going to do here. But it's important before we start, we want to be zoomed in quite a bit so we can actually see what's happening, because we're looking at really fine details in the image. So there's a couple different ways to do that. You can see I opened up this little window here that shows me some of the areas of the image, and that's one place to look at it. And you can click here and I can drag where that window is showing so I can find somebody's eye or an important part of the image. And another way to relocate what that's showing is to use this target here. And if I click on the target, then I can kind of move around. You can see that window is moving with me, and I can select here where that where that window is showing. So, but I prefer to zoom in on the image in the workspace rather than work with this little window here. So I actually close this window, and the exclamation mark it's giving me is because it knows that I can't tell what the fine detail is happening if I don't zoom in further. So as I zoom in, that exclamation mark goes away. And now we can see what's going on if I start to use this amount, radius, and detail, these sharpening tools. So it defaults on this particular file, on a raw file, to 25. And if I move this, you can quickly see that it kind of gives me a little bit better finer details in here. But as I go up higher, I start to kind of sharpen some of the noise that's there and whatnot. This amount is like a volume control. It's just the more and more I go up, the more sharpening is applied. But you can see that I'm getting really grainy and some artifacting going on as I go up that high. So typically we don't want to go that high. 50 is usually a fairly good number to start with, and that's where I'm going to leave this image here, is right around at 50. Like a lot of the other tools in Lightroom, you can hold the Alt key, and as you move this slider, it shifts the slider, or it shifts the workspace to a different type of view. In this case, it shifts it to black and white because it's a little easier to see what kind of sharpening is happening in black and white when you're not distracted by some of the different color details. So I'm going to leave this, actually it looks like it might be a little bit better at 60 there. So the next tool is radius, and radius is kind of how far away from each little line in the image or detail in the image that the sharpening effect is applied. So if you have a lot of things going on, like in my trees here, I've got a lot of different little lines and details in these trees, and as that radius goes up, I actually can start to lose some of my detail there because the sharpening effect is overlapping from one little piece of the image into the other piece, and it causes some issues. So you want to be careful with radius and kind of watch what's happening here to make sure that you're not going too high. And again, I can hold the Alt key down and slide this, and I can see kind of where that radius is affecting. But in this case, I'm probably going to leave it just at about 1, which is where it defaults to. And then detail is going to preserve some of the details in an image that I might be losing as I start to have that overlapping effect from sharpening. And the more details there are in an image, the higher the slider is going to be. So if the image is just like one subject against a white sky, I might have this detail lower, but if it's higher, a pet with a lot of hair or these trees with a lot of leaves, that kind of stuff, this detail slider is actually going to be a bit higher in these situations. And again, I can hold Alt down and I can kind of see what's happening here. So I'm going to bring this up to right in here, probably. And then masking, what it does is save some of the areas that don't have a lot of details, such as the sky or plain wall or something like that, from having this sharpening effect going on, which is kind of sharpening some of the noise and can kind of give you more of a gritty look. And if I mask it, that area these planar areas. If you watch my wood panels here, that's where we're going to see it in this particular example. I'm going to stop the sharpening effect from taking place there. And again, this is a place where you can use Alt, and it's kind of, this is probably one of the areas I use it the more often, because I can see which areas of the image as I drag here aren't having sharpening applied to them. So you can see, you know, if I go really high, now the sharpening isn't really applied to most of my wood panels there. If I let go, and you can see here visually, you know, it's kind of a combination of the two. You can see here visually that down here the panels are really sharp, and you've got some noise that's getting sharpened, and we'll talk later about noise reduction. And then as I go up here, this starts to take away some of that sharpening effect from those wood panels, and this would be how you'd watch it in a sky as well. So every image that you bring into Lightroom for the most part is going to be sharpened. Thanks for watching. For more tutorials, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let us know in the comments below what other tutorials you'd like to see. Until next time, I'm Jason with National Camera Exchange.